You're listening to the Adventure Sports Podcast. We talk with adventurers from around the globe to bring you the inspiration and motivation you need to get started in the outdoors or to keep you moving if you're already there. Now here's your host, Kurt Linville.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Adventure Sports Podcast. I have Matt Wolff with us today, and Matt is in New Zealand. We were just joking about how it's tomorrow there. So Matt's calling us from the future, and we're going to talk about all sorts of adventure sports in New Zealand, including some lesser-known trails that would be amazing to learn about, skiing, kayaking, mountain climbing, all of the above. It's not the same in New Zealand as it is in other places, obviously, so I'm excited to find out more about that. So, Matt, welcome to the Adventure Sports Podcast.
Thank you, Kurt. Good to be here.
First of all, tell us where you live in New Zealand. Give us some context. You're not in a big city, right?
No, so I am calling from a place called Waimate, which translates to dead water, and it's about a little further down the South Island than halfway. It's halfway between what's known as the adventure capital, Queenstown, and the biggest city in the South Island, Christchurch. So it's a bit off the beaten track, and it's a bit of a backwater, I guess.
Oh, that's fun. So what kind of adventures do you have in your neck of the woods?
So where I am, I've got, 5 or 6 ski fields within 2.5 hours drive. I've got a whole lot of little day walks within an hour drive, and I've got some bigger walks within 2 hours drive as well. So got everything, really.
Well, you mentioned kayaking earlier. Is it whitewater kayaking, sea kayaking? What kind of kayaking?
Just lake kayaking, just still water with my family. We have a double kayak that we quite often, all three of us pile in and we go for a paddle.
Oh, that's fun. So it sounds like you have a lot of adventure in your area and that you've tried to make that a priority in your life. Yes,
because, I work for myself, so I'm more flexible with what I can and can't do.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, it's always great. Let me rewind a little bit. I think few people get the opportunity to really be masters of their own schedule.
Yeah.
And when it's possible, it opens up so many opportunities. It's not that that's something that everyone should do, but when you can, well, that's fantastic. I mean, even just in the States here, the weekends, the trails get really busy. A lot of the adventure sports are just very, very popular on the weekends. If you can adjust your schedule and call your weekend a Tuesday, Wednesday or something, then you can have the whole place to yourself. Is it like that in New Zealand as well?
In New Zealand, it's a bit different. We're what's considered a small country, although we're a lot bigger than people think. You think about the length of New Zealand, it's about from the top of the Florida Peninsula all the way up the east coast there.
That's a lot.
But we've only got, 4 or 5 million people in New Zealand. So even on the weekend, if you go just a bit off the beaten track, you're likely to have the whole track to yourself.
Oh, that's nice. That's cool. So you mentioned in one of the notes that you sent that a lot of people think about hiking the big trail in New Zealand and they don't know about the smaller trails. And I always mispronounce this trail because I can't get it in my head, but the Te Aurora to something. Will you help me out with that?
The Aotearoa Trail.
Yes. So that's one that pretty much is known worldwide. And I've interviewed several people that have run the trail, hiked the trail, loved the trail. But you're telling me that there are a whole lot of other lesser known trails that maybe people would like to consider.
Yeah. So in New Zealand, we have lots of backcountry trails and lots of bits you can go off track. I can't remember the statistic, but I think maybe 40 or 50% of New Zealand is either government or what's called Crown land, which is Queen owned because we are part of the Commonwealth,
right.
And is free to walk on or whatever. So there's all the lesser known, trails, and then there's what's known as the Great Walks, and there's 11 of those. One of them's a bit of a cheat because it's not a walk per se. But I've done a few of those and they're still quite well known in New Zealand, kind of like the 14ers if you're into outdoors.
Yeah, sure.
But they're lesser known around the world and yet still amazing.
Oh, why are they called great walks?
So they're called the Great Walks because, well, they're absolutely stunning scenic and they're set up a lot better than the backcountry trails, even parts of the Te Araroa. They're set up better.
Mm,
So there is the Milford track, which you can get guided walking on, and that is 3 or 4 days, depending how you do it. And you stay in lodges pretty much with power if you do guided, but you can also just do it yourself and stay in what's called huts. But the huts on the Great Walk are more like houses than the huts in the backcountry.
okay. So very, very scenic. How long are they? You said 3 or 4 days. What kind of distances are
Yep.
we talking about?
So 3 or 4 days. I can't think of the longest one. A lot are shorter. So the Rakiora track, which is on Stewart Island, right at the bottom, because there's 3 islands in New Zealand. It's on the third island at the bottom that people forget
Okay.
about, is one of the shortest ones. And that is, I think it's about 45 Ks. Don't know what that is in miles. I'm not good at the conversion. And then you've got the longer ones, which are 60 to 70 Ks. And yeah,
Very cool. So let's see. I'm going to call it 46 because it makes it easier for me to convert, right? So that
yeah,
comes to about 27 miles.
yeah, sounds about right. And
Which is that's not a short walk.
no, it's not. And the thing with New Zealand is even the shorter walks, you're climbing easily 1,000 meters, which is about 3,000 feet.
Okay, so lots of up and down.
Yeah.
So I'm
New
curious
Zealand.
about this. I've seen all the pictures of the mountains in New Zealand, and I think most people think of New Zealand as a mountainous country.
Yep.
Is it mountainous pretty much everywhere, or do you have to go to the mountains to experience them?
Well, in New Zealand, the North Island has a lot less mountains, but you've got what's called the Desert Road, which is the highest public road in New Zealand, excluding one pass, but that's only briefly, which has a couple mountains on it. But in the South Island, you're never more than, I don't know, an hour and a half from the mountains driving.
Okay. And I assume that they go pretty much down the center of the island.
Um, of the South Island, it's a lot closer on the west coast. You can literally go straight from the sea to the mountains in Fiordland, where Milford Track is and Rootburn Track, other of the Great Walks. But then you get a bit, but that's on the west coast. On the east coast is it's a bit dry. It's a bit more plains, but then you're still not that far from them. So yeah, I think the furthest you are from them is on the Canterbury Plains, and they're only about, I think they're about 50, 60 Ks wide.
Okay. So that gives us a little bit of a feel for it. It sounds like that's just an amazing place to go on adventures. It
Yeah,
sounds like
yeah,
you've got it all.
yeah, we've got it all. And yeah, it's all within a short distance from wherever you are, really.
Nice. So you have a young family, you're
Yep.
working, but you still do a lot of adventure. Share with us what your lifestyle is like.
So because I work for myself, I'll sort of work pretty relaxed hours, which means I get to spend the morning with my daughter, spend lunch with my daughter, who is only 6, and then occasionally after work we can go for a short walk. We've got one that's only 8 Ks away that is about an hour walk there and back in bush along a creek. And the water's clean and clear everywhere.
Nice.
And then on the weekends, more of the broader adventures, sort of every second or third weekend, we'll do a bit more of a longer day walk or go for a kayak or go skiing.
Well, we're recording this toward the end of July, and it'll be
Yeah.
a few weeks before this comes out. But of course, that means we're in the hottest part of the summer in the United States. But this is like Christmas for you guys. This is midwinter, right?
Yep. Yep. So we've had 2 weeks of frosts where we've been getting down to the -2 degrees overnight. We've got a little bit of rain now. Funny thing in New Zealand, the winters are a lot drier than the summers.
Oh, wow.
Um, and yeah, so it's midwinter, it's cold, and yeah, we're looking at going skiing more in end of August. We've got a week skiing teed up.
At the end of August. That I have to recalculate every time you say something like that because my mind is locked into the northern hemisphere. But so tell us about skiing in New Zealand. I do have a lot of friends who have gone to New Zealand to ski in the summer, our summer, your winter,
Yep.
so that they can get more skiing in a calendar year, right? I mean, how
Yep.
cool is that? But what is skiing like in New Zealand?
So skiing in New Zealand, we don't really have any resort fields. They're called ski fields for a reason, not ski resorts.
Okay.
So you'll have maybe what the biggest one is Cardrona, which is between Wanaka and Queenstown, and that is I think it's 700 hectares of skiing, and you've got 6 lifts on that area. But then you've got smaller club fields, which you can go on, and they've got some interesting tows, which I'm happy to talk about. But the thing with New Zealand, if you stay away from the commercial fields, Coronet Peak, Remarkables, all the ones around Queenstown there,
Right.
you can ski onto the bottom of the lift, go to the top, ski back down, back on.
Yeah, so no crowds, no lines.
Yeah.
What are the
And
snow
it's all
conditions like?
alpine. It's all alpine skiing. So
Right.
you're above the
Yeah.
bush line. Once you're above about 1,000 meters in New Zealand, you're above the bush line pretty
Oh,
much
really?
everywhere. Yeah. So yeah, there's no lines, and yeah, it's short runs. The longest run is at Round Hill, which is within 2.5 hours of me, and it is called Who's Your Daddy? But it's accessed by a rope tow.
Okay. How long is it?
I can't remember. I think it's about a K and a half, 2 Ks.
Oh, so that's respectable. That's a good length.
Yep. Yeah. This. Yeah, but I'll tell you about the rope tows because I've got a little example here if we use the video.
Okay, yeah.
Um, so when you're skiing on club fields, you have what's called a nutcracker. I've got it attached to my climbing harness because that's easier.
I'm well familiar with that.
This is a nutcracker.
Oh
So
no.
this is on all the club fields. You have one of these, right?
Yes.
And what you need to do is you grab onto the rope. See if I can get this. Hang on. So you grab onto the rope with your left hand, and then you have to, I'll just do it here. Excuse the shaky video. Then you have to do something like that, and it clips around the rope. You can
Gotcha.
see my climb.
Yep.
And that takes you up the mountain, holding on to the metal bit there, takes you up the mountain. And you go through pulleys and all this sort of stuff. But it's a bit of an art to get it attached.
So there's a learning curve there.
Oh yeah, it's just an adventure trying to get it attached first time. I think it took me half a day to get it working, and I'd been skiing for, I don't know, 8 years by then.
Wow. So there's a trick to it. Once you get it, it's probably not too bad. I've been on rope tows before, but here you just hang on with your hands.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it
So
doesn't take long to get very, very tired. You have to have
yeah,
something to grab the rope.
so yeah, when you're on a rope tow that's a K and a half, like the one that goes up, Who's Your Daddy at Round
Yeah.
Hill, you don't want to be holding on, and because there's so many pulleys there,
Oh
you
boy.
get your hands a bit crushed if you hung onto the rope without pulling it off the pulleys. They're set up so you can pull it off the pulleys, but it slows down the tow and it's hard work. So
Wow. So that mechanism just goes, your nutcracker there goes right through the pulley system.
yeah, so it's you flick it up from the bottom with your wrist and then hold it like that, and it just goes through the pulley system. But then it's only about this far away from the side of you, so um,
Oh,
you know. It's a bit scary. And I can't remember if it's Craigieburn or Broken River, which is a club field near Christchurch there, they've got, I think it's called the shish kebab or the spindle, and it's a vertical spinning pulley like a bike tire that has like an angled bit at the top, and it turns you around a corner to keep going up the hill.
okay. So you're making turns while you're on the rope tow.
Yeah, so it takes a bit of getting used to.
You know what? That sounds rough and ready. There's something about that that appeals to me a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like you can't just jump on the lift. You have to learn some things.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
But that is the club fields. If you go to the commercial fields, you've got chairs, you've got T-bars, pommers, you name
right.
it. We've got it apart from gondolas. The closest we've got to gondolas are what we call chondolas. and that's where you've got the odd gondola carriage on a chairlift base.
Okay. So you can wait for the gondola to come by if you really want it. Otherwise, you're on a
Yeah,
chair. Is that how it works?
yep. That's the top of the range's express chairs. I think we've got a 12-seater in New Zealand somewhere.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So is the snow in New Zealand, Colorado is known for a lot of powder, and often it does have powder, but we tend to have drier snow. I'll just say it that way
Yep.
than like East Coast resorts. It's not that we don't get ice or that we don't get heavy snow, but Colorado is known for cold, light snow, right? So is
Yeah.
Utah and other places. What about New Zealand?
Yeah. New Zealand's wet snow. Generally speaking, if you are a powder hound, you got to take days off midweek to get the powder because you'll
Yeah.
get a front through that'll dump the powder. But then because A, it's windy, and B, it's liable to heat up quite a bit, it can get very slushy and very wet and sticky. And the thing with New Zealand, though, is that it's known for its spring corn skiing because of our freeze melt
Yes.
cycles. It's amazing skiing when it's spring corn.
Okay, give us the months of the year that we're talking about.
So for more of the powder deep snow, it's sort of July through to end of August, start of September. For more of the spring chord, you're sort of tail end of September, and a few ski fields open the first 2 weeks of October.
And then it's
So it's
over.
quite, yeah, it's quite a short season. To make the most of it.
I'm still having a hard time wrapping around those months.
Yeah,
I have to
yeah.
reprogram my brain for this. Well, that's very, very fun. How many mountain lakes does New Zealand have? Is that pretty common?
It depends what you classify as a lake, because we've got the central high country, which is where Mount Cook, biggest, or Aoraki, the biggest mountain in New Zealand is.
Hmm.
But that's at about 700 meters, if you classify that as a mountain lake. We've really only got two, maybe three true mountain towns. That's Queenstown, Wanaka, and Cromwell. They're all in the central high country.
Okay.
But if you look at it, we've got what? There's maybe about 10, 15 big lakes, like mountain lakes above 1,000 meters. But then, as I said, depends what you classify as a lake, because there is hundreds upon thousands of towns, which is small mountain lakes in New Zealand.
Right. Well, in Colorado, most of the larger bodies of water are reservoirs anyway that are, man-made.
Yeah,
But the lakes in Colorado often are quite small, just a
yeah,
few acres. We call it a
yeah.
lake. It's really just a mountain pond, but anyway, that's what
So,
that's what we call lakes.
yeah, so in which case there'd be hundreds of thousands of mountain lakes. But yeah, our definitions are a bit, because it's so big, like
Right.
especially on the west coast when you're tramping, sorry, I'll explain that quickly. So that's the term in New Zealand for hiking, and it means it comes from tramp, to walk heavily, because in
Right.
New Zealand you're carrying everything on your back pretty much all the time. Aside from the guided great walks, it's always on your back.
Right.
So,
So tramping is the same as backpacking here.
yep, yep,
Okay.
and yeah. So, yeah, if you get to New Zealand and someone says, "I'm a tramper," it's not the negative connotations. It means they do lots
It's
of
the positive
backpacking and
connotation.
hiking.
I
Yeah.
love it.
So,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
great. Um, so let's talk about some of these trails. We talked about, the 11, right? But you have
yeah,
some smaller ones, especially in your area that you enjoy.
yeah.
Name some and describe them. What are they like?
So around here, we've got a heck of a lot of day walks, and they're all sort of in bush. The thing with Waimate is that it's quite an interesting microclimate where it's quite wet for the east coast.
Okay.
Um, and they go sort of through bush along creeks, which are relatively large. But so that's right in on the doorstep. The more 2 hours away ones are things like the Ahuriri, which I'm not sure if you had a look at those photos. That's the one where I'm standing with my dog up there, and they're a valley walk that you can go up onto the high peaks. And on those days, you go from about, I remember one I did from 700 meters to 1,800 meters in about 2 hours.
So that's steep.
Yep.
What a delightful place. I mean, I don't want to sound trite, but everyone has a feel for what New Zealand can be like by watching Lord of the Rings, right?
Yep.
The helicopter flyovers where they filmed things, just spectacular scenery. So beautiful.
Yeah.
So the mountains, I always envision the mountains of New Zealand as being snow-capped and that sort of thing. You mentioned it's drier in the east, wetter in the west.
Yep.
How wet is it in the mountains, especially on the west side?
So, for example, at the moment, they're getting 19 millimeters of rain today.
Okay.
And then you go down south to Fiordland again, and there they measure the yearly rain in meters. Not so,
Meters.
yeah, meters.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for those of us who are stuck in the English system, 19 millimeters is a little less than an inch. It's about
Yeah.
3/4 of an inch. And but now we're
90.
talking about
Not,
compared to meters.
yeah, yeah, 90 in 90, not 19, 90,
Oh,
90 millimeters.
90 millimeters.
Yeah, in one day. So that's, I don't know what that
Yeah,
is in
it's
inches.
3 inches or something.
Yeah, yeah, and
That's
then,
that's a lot.
yeah,
That's a lot. I mean, that's a heck of a lot. And now you're talking
yeah,
about down south, they measure it in meters? How's this possible?
meters per year. Yeah,
Wow.
it's because of the sea currents. Of course, we're an island nation. There's nothing really to well, you can go right around the world without hitting land from where I am. So you go sail straight out from the east coast or west coast, and the only place you're going to hit is Chile or Argentina, and that's on the other side of the world, as you know. So because there's so much sea around us, the rain just comes in.
Well, that's where a lot of the races around the world, when people want to circumnavigate the planet on a sailboat or something, that's where a lot of the races are for that very reason. You can just go around Antarctica there.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So,
what is your latitude down there?
sorry, I don't know. I think it's around 45 degrees south, something
Okay.
like that. Can't remember exactly.
So, I'm just trying to make it equivalent in my mind. So, that would be Wyoming-ish,
In
maybe
the north.
Oregon
Yeah,
but south instead of north, of course.
yeah,
Right? So,
yeah,
that's pretty far south.
yeah,
Um, and the Arctic Circle or the Antarctic Circle would be about 23 degrees. So it'd be like
yeah,
60. What am I trying to say? I'm not doing my math very well right now. It was something like 67 degrees or something like that. You'd hit the
yeah,
Antarctic. So you're down there.
yeah. We're down. We're not quite as south as Patagonia, but we're pretty
Okay.
close.
All
It's
right.
probably the easiest way to do it.
Well, thank you for filling in all the gaps for me, Matt. New Zealand is a magical place, and I
Yeah,
just don't know a lot about it. But
yeah,
I'm getting the picture of amazing mountains, huge amounts of precipitation, especially on the western slopes,
yeah, yeah,
and beautiful trails.
yeah,
So many small mountain lakes, you can't count them all.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, it sounds delightful.
It
What is one
is.
of your favorite things to do down there?
Uh, I love tramping. I'm going to have to use New Zealand. It doesn't sound right saying hiking.
Yeah,
Um,
that's fine.
I think that's probably my favorite thing to do, outdoors wise. And we've got a whole lot of nice, well, or walking, and we've got a whole lot of nice trails nearby. There's a new one going in called the Te Waimate Trail, which is, it's only going to be an overnight trail. And it travels through the gorge here, which is kind of unique in that it got hit by a fire, I don't know, late 1800s, and it's regenerative bush. But then it
Okay.
goes through limestone formations after that. Big, tall, not as tall as the redstone sort of formations in America, but pretty tall limestone formations. And then it goes up we call it a creek, but it's probably more of a river, it flows quite fast. And then up over the top of Mount Studholme, which is the third highest peak in the hills next to us, and that is a little over 1,000 meters high.
Okay.
And then it comes back through to Waimate. At the moment, they're just working on stage one, which is through the gorge to the Waiha Forks Hotel, and it's sort of a. I like to support the trail locally because it's a good initiative to get more tourists into our little part of the world, and it goes through some stunning scenery, but it's not finished yet, and they're still looking for funding to get stage one and then stage two's up to the top and stage three's from the top back to Waimate.
So it makes a loop.
Yep, loops back, and it's one of the few on the east coast of New Zealand that would be a loop track, and it's been done so you can cycle it as well. So it's been done to a biking standard with like lime chip and stuff. So it's probably one of the better underfoot trails in the area. Most of ours are just are just dirt or mud,
Right.
as it seems to be, or even up riverbeds. So it's going to be very good for my little town.
Well, you mentioned that you're in a little bit, what was it you said, a wetter part of a drier area. Is that right? A
Yes.
little microclimate? So
Yep.
how much rain do you get?
Well, sorry, I couldn't tell you. But we'll quite often have a large amount of rain over a short period of time. Because of where we are, we're right at the south of the Canterbury Plains. So we get a lot of the weather from the south, but anything from the east, because we're right next to the hills, gets trapped and rains. Probably for 4 or 5 times a year, we'll have our rivers flood, not burst their banks generally, but flood. There's a little creek just over that way a bit. It's about 2 k's away, which has some nice tracks along it. And it's dry most of the year. What would it be? About 4 weeks ago, this dry creek, I was able to kayak down it.
Wow.
And that was just after one rain event. So,
Big rains.
yeah.
So a few times a year you get the really big rains. I was just kind of curious about it. If people wanted to come and experience your area, should they be prepared for rain or sun or all of the above as a rule?
All of the above. All of the above. 4 seasons in one day is New Zealand. We can have a frost in the morning. A few days ago, we got a -2 degree frost. And then by midday, it was 18 degrees C. And then by the evening, it was raining, you know?
Yeah. That's a big temperature swing.
Yeah.
I live in a place in Colorado that gets huge temperature swings, but not quite as big as what you just described.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's because it's so affected by the sea because it's so narrow. So it'll start off with the nor'west, which is the dry wind for this side of the country.
Okay.
And then it will turn easterly and blow anything over the sea into us, you know?
Right. Very, very fun. So how popular are adventure sports there in New Zealand?
I'd say most New Zealanders would do some form of walking. We've got the grounds for it. As for the more adventure sports, whitewater kayaking, we're a mecca for all of them. As to how much the population does it, I'm not entirely sure, but it is probably well over half that would go regularly for a tramp or a walk or whatever.
So it sounds like it's pretty popular.
Yeah, but yet you'll still get times where there's no one on the track if you just go off the beaten trails.
Right. Oh, what a lovely place. I hope someday to get to come down and experience your country. It sounds delightful. It really does.
Yep. Make sure you come for more than a week. See if you can get 10 days minimum. As I said, it's a lot bigger than people think. The driving is not straight. There's no real straight roads in New Zealand. You're always on curves, and they're only 2 lanes wide.
So it takes a while to get places.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is it? I think it's about 250, maybe kilometers from here to Queenstown. That
Okay.
takes about 2.5 hours.
All right. So 100 kilometers an hour is about
Yep.
55 miles per hour.
That, yeah, that's our speed limit too.
Okay, so that's how long it takes. Um,
Yeah.
so it sounds like it's a great place to go relax, not be in a hurry, enjoy the
Yeah.
scenery,
Yeah.
meet the locals. I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard such wonderful things about the people in New Zealand. I've just heard that people are friendly
Yep.
and
For sure.
welcoming, and it just sounds like a delightful place.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're very Kiwis, as we're known, named after the flightless bird that is the bird of New Zealand.
Right.
Um, I don't know why we're named after it. It's a bit of it's a cool bird, don't get me wrong, but in regards to our bird life, it's not the most interesting. We've got the only alpine parrot in the world.
Oh, wow.
Um, we've got a tiny little rock wren that spends its entire life above bushline.
Okay.
It's yeah, so
But the Kiwi got the glory for some reason.
yeah, I guess because it's so unique. Thing with New Zealand is you don't have to worry about predators, no snakes, no poisonous spiders, no big predators. The most dangerous thing in the bush is either other people, which is very rare because everyone's good friends, or wild pigs.
Wild
And so
pigs.
long as you're making a bit of noise, the pigs will avoid you.
So were the pigs brought in? They're,
Yes.
they're considered invasive, I'm sure.
Yes, in New Zealand, there is only two naturally brought in mammals. They flew here from Australia, and that's two species of bat. Um, Yet we've got rats, weasels, stoats, pigs, deer, tar, all introduced, rabbits, all damaging the environment. Hedgehogs, it was just when the English came, they brought all their English animals with them.
Okay.
We don't have foxes though. They stopped at hares. They didn't get foxes in. Luckily, otherwise we probably wouldn't have any bird life left.
Oh man, yeah, I can imagine that. It's crazy to think historically how humans have impacted the environments.
Yeah,
There's a lot of that. A lot of that.
yeah, yeah. And
Well,
I've studied ecology at university, and the ecology in New Zealand is massively unique. There's nowhere else in the world like it.
mm, it sounds like a fun place to come and experience for sure. Will you share a story with us about on one of your tramps,
Yeah.
something that happened that you found was super unique and how that impacted you?
One of the ones, somewhat recently, I did my first off-track walk with a friend of mine. Um, Not going to go into specifics where it was, purely because it's his little tramping ground and he doesn't want
Okay.
many people in there.
It's the secret
N-
place.
yeah, needless to say, it's only a valley away from the Te Araroa Trail,
Okay.
and it's near one of the big rivers. It's near the middle of nowhere, and that'll give people a hint where it is if they have a look around. We were going off track, and there was an old broken down hut about halfway up that we then went over the top of, stayed in what's called dog kennel bivvy, which, as it sounds like, is pretty much a dog kennel. Um, and then we went up to the top of a mountain, which is that day I was talking about where we went from 900 to 1800 meters.
Right.
And we saw falcons, native New Zealand falcons, which are a small fast bird, chasing big hawk, the biggest bird in New Zealand.
Oh, really?
And they're like falcons are half their size, and there were two of them because it was in its and it was just stunning to watch these little tiny birds just taking out this massive hawk in the sky like jet fighters. And it just struck me when I was up there with the vista and stuff, like how unique and stunning New Zealand is, and how much of a special place it is, and needs to be kept that way.
Yeah, no doubt. Do you have a story? This is a question that when we started the podcast 10 years ago, We used to always ask this. But the question
Yeah.
is, do you have a story about a time that things didn't go right and what happened?
Yes. Yes, I do. I was actually ready for this question because I know it's asked commonly. Um, my wife and I, this was before our daughter, we had two dogs at the time. We were doing a road trip on the West Coast. The West Coast, as I said, it can go from sea level to 2,000 meters in the space of 200 meters
Yeah,
in
wild.
spots. And we were walking up a place called, I think it's called, I can't remember the creek's name, but we were walking up to a hut called Cedar Flats Hut, which has naturally occurring hot pools. Um, and this is West Coast is big, bushy country, as I've said. We were going along, and the track description that I'd done all the research, two dogs and everything, was we needed a permit, mind. To get, let's just put that out there so people don't just say, "Oh yes, let's
Right.
go."
Oh, let's go do
You need a
that.
permit. Yeah, you
Okay,
need a
pull a
permit in a
permit.
lot of places in New Zealand to walk your dogs. But anyway, we were doing this tramp, which is an overnight tramp, and you go up a riverbed and then over a small saddle about 900 meters, um, and down to Cedar Flats Hut.
Okay.
So we were making our way along this track, which after the first kilometre was just the riverbed, which was expected.
Okay.
And all the descriptions had said easy boulder hopping. It wasn't easy boulder hopping. There were 2 metre high
Don't believe the easy
boulders.
part.
Yeah, there were 2 metre high boulders, and you're on. I think it's called a stream or a creek. When in actual fact it's a river. It was about for flowing about 3 meters wide in spots and really rough,
Okay.
rough. So we were going along the edge of the creek here, and we got through that bit, but it took us twice as long as we were expecting.
Uh-oh.
So we got there, and then we started climbing up to the saddle. About halfway up the saddle, we ran into some people coming the other way. Very rare, but quite a popular track. And asked, "Oh, how far away is the hut?" And they were like, "It's still about 4 hours away, or
Oh,
3 hours away." And by now we were like, it should only be about 2 hours away, you know?
right.
So, and at this stage, it was starting to get on for, I don't know, 4 o'clock. In summer in New Zealand, it doesn't get dark till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock even.
Right.
And it was going for that, and we're like, well, we've got the dogs, we've got a what's called a wire bridge, which is kind of what it sounds like. It's like a wire bridge that's got a tiny little, maybe 30 centimeters wide walking area in the middle, strung between like rocks and trees,
Oh, okay.
just before the hut. And we've got two dogs, and
Who
we
may
had
not
factored
want to
this
do
in.
this.
Yeah, we had factored this in, and it's like, yeah, we can carry them across, or if the creek's fordable, we'll go across the creek a bit further upstream, which we had read it was fordable. But it's getting late, and these people are still 4 hours, and we're like, well, we don't want to be doing that in the dark. So there was this nice little, well, nice, a very steep flowing creek just before you really got coming up the saddle. So we're like, okay, what do we do? Do we go back? Do we go forward? Luckily, I had packed a tent, which you should always do in New Zealand for this
Yeah.
exact reason. Always pack a tent, even if you're on one of the Great Walks, because the weather can shift in a moment. And we set it up on this area, which was only just big enough for the tent next to this creek, and spent the night in it with two of us and two dogs in a two-person tent. Part of the tent was sort of on a slope, so the dogs were sliding into the corner.
Of
Um,
course.
so we spent the night here, right next to this creek. There was a little bit of rain, which made us nervous because forecast had said for a big front to come through the following sort of afternoon, and we're like out of cell phone range. No cell phone range in New Zealand, really. Couldn't
Okay.
check the weather update. We got a little bit of drizzle, and we're like, oh, is the creek going to come up? So what we ended up doing was we ended up sort of sleeping in shifts, listening to the creek right next to us, playing what we called alphabetimals, where we went from A to Z with animal names. So aardvark, I don't know, bison or whatever, trying to
Right.
get as many as we could, with very interrupted sleep and a little bit of rain. Uh, so safe to say, the rain stopped. We got a little bit more sleep, and we walked out the next day. So,
And so you never went on to the hut.
nah, nah. We were like, well, we've factored in this much time. That front's due to come through end of tomorrow. We
Right.
should just go because
Well, you have
once
to
the rivers
walk
come
the
up,
you have to walk the river back down, the creek back down that's going to
yeah,
potentially flood, right?
yeah, exactly.
Oh.
So we were like, we'll just walk out. We still haven't gone back, but we will get there one day.
Well, I want to highlight this for just a moment. One of your bigger considerations was that a front was going to come through.
Yep.
And in Colorado in the summertime, we get rain, but
Yep.
we don't get that kind of rain. You
No.
know, it's very, very rare. It's once every 10 years or more that maybe we get a storm that's big enough to be concerned about, well, the creek's going to flood, you
Yep.
know? But it sounds like in New Zealand, with the amount of rain that you can get, it really should be something you're thinking about.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, it's the biggest thing. The biggest dangers in New Zealand, as I said, there's no animals to worry about.
Right.
Weather and water. Two
Yeah.
W's. Had factored in the weather. It was supposed to come through late the following day. All the forecasts leading up to it had said that it was going to do that, but then they can change on a moment's notice. So when it started drizzling, we're like, oh,
Oh,
gotta
here we
gotta
go.
stay.
This could be
Yeah.
bad.
But luckily it wasn't. But now I'm a lot more hesitant about the weather after that. I was going to go up uh, up past Lake Ohau near the Ahuriri, up what's called Huxley last weekend. But there was a front forecast to come through on Monday, a big one, the one that's 90 millimeters.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm just going to give that a miss. It was just going to be me doing that one this weekend, and I'll have a go this coming weekend.
Well, interesting. So for people that are not from New Zealand, Matt has warned you, pay attention to the weather,
Weather and water. Yeah.
weather and water. And, you know,
Yeah.
I guess you think about this, you fjord a stream, right? And on the way up somewhere, and then the rain comes. How are you going to get back across? If it's
Yeah.
flooded, you may not.
That's the thing. Most of the tracks that I do, as I said, I don't really do many of Aroa. And there's a lot of other, like the Great Walks and stuff that you have to book them in advance. But most tracks I do are more backcountry, a dirt path through bush. And in New Zealand, a lot of people consider it's not a tramp hike unless you get your feet wet, because
Yeah.
you always have to cross a creek or river, depending what you want to classify as a creek or a river.
Do you have any tips or tricks or recommendations for how to get across fast moving water that's a little deeper than you anticipated?
Yes, I have a YouTube channel called Trailers. If you search South Temple Track on YouTube, it'll come up with me. It's a picture of me wearing a hat. That's a track up near Ohau. And there's a little segment on there that's about, I did it with some family, and it's about crossing rivers. And the best hint I can give is never go alone. And if you're a bit concerned about the river, don't cross. If you know the crossing, like I did with that one, but people with you are not confident with it, because I'd done that one previously, link arms, strongest person at the top, weakest person in the middle, or downstream, and then if you've got extra people, put them downstream from them.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a segment in that South Temple Track video that I show my family members doing a safe river crossing because one of them was a bit nervous about it.
And it went all right, I assume.
Yep, all good. Like I said, I knew that river crossing. If you don't know the river crossing and you're not sure it's safe, just don't cross. You can go back, or you can just set up your tent on that side and still have a great night.
Right. Well, and if there's weather coming it's going to be worse on the way back. So
Yeah. Yeah, for
that's
sure.
it's kind of a fascinating thought. In Colorado, we have plenty of whitewater streams, and a lot of people have done a lot of whitewater kayaking stuff, and you begin to respect the force of the water.
Yes. Yes, for
You know,
sure.
it's surprisingly powerful,
Yeah.
and it can really, really deal some unexpected blows, I think.
Yes. Yes, I have done a tiny bit of whitewater kayaking, not much. I'm not the most confident with it. Like I said, I prefer the lake kayaking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did that with Rangitata Rafts. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but they are a great little outfit. And we did grade 3/4 whitewater kayaking with skill.
Sure.
And you really do appreciate it. You really, really do. Like the force there is insane.
Yeah, it can be. And just because you crossed a place once before doesn't mean it's different too,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. The streams, there's a lot of braided rivers in New Zealand. Like most of the big river valleys, the Rangitata, the Rakaia, the Waimakariri, the Ahuriri even, which is a bit smaller, are what's called braided rivers. Not sure if you're familiar with them, but it's like lots of little streams that twist
Yeah.
and mean together over a big stony um, valley floor, and they can change each time you get a big water run. The whole shape of the river can change.
Oh wow. That
Yeah.
sounds like quite the adventure just to pick your way through that and have good judgment about it.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Interesting. Well, what is your favorite adventure to do there in New Zealand?
But uh, I'd have to say, in winter, I love skiing, but then I love winter tramping. There's no one ever on the tracks in winter because it does get cold. Favorite adventure? Oh, there's too many. I, yeah, like all things are good. It's hard to pinpoint one favorite, um, but anything with the family really is the best.
Right. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, how can people learn more?
About what?
Well, you mentioned the Automati Trail. Did I get close?
Close, Waimati.
Wamati Trail,
There you
and
go.
it's a work in progress. If people want to
Yep.
get involved in that, where should they
Yeah.
go to learn more?
Uh, they've got a Facebook page, which is probably the best place to find information about them. And that links to their website. It's a little community group called, I'm not sure if it's Waimati Together or Positive Waimati, there's two, that is putting it through. They also have quite a hand in what's called the Eco Sanctuary here, Point Bush Eco Sanctuary. They support that as well. And what an eco sanctuary is, it's that's surrounded by a predator-proof fence. So that's rats, stoats, possums, so on,
Okay.
around some native bush. That is to keep it free from invasive and dangerous pest animals. They have to clear out the area that they've put the fence around, of course. In Waimati, we're one of two places in New Zealand that have introduced wallabies.
Oh,
And
wow.
they're a massive damager of new growth because they eat the new plant growth.
Right.
So yeah, there's that, and the Eco Sanctuary, I fully support them as well. They're doing a great job. One of the really cool things about the Point Bush Eco Sanctuary, which also Facebook's the best place, just search Point Bush Eco Sanctuary, is that it's the only eco sanctuary in New Zealand that you can ride your bike through.
Oh,
It's
cool.
got a whole range of trails that have been done by a community group that are pretty close to national level trails. That's downhill trails and uphill trails. And yeah, that's really worth supporting too.
That's neat. It's crazy to think about trying to get all the invasive animals out of an area and then keep them out so that
Yeah,
you can let the indigenous species thrive the way that they should. I don't know how
yeah,
you could maintain it.
yeah, that's the thing. So with these predator-proof fences, they're set up like they've been designed to keep predators out. They're, I don't know, I'd say I'll use feet. They're about 6 foot high. And the bottom, I'm going to have to use meters now, meter and a half is a very fine mesh. which
Okay.
is topped with an electric wire, a
Oh,
hot wire,
all right.
that any animals trying to get in can't get over or under, because rabbits are very
Right.
good at digging under things, but the mesh
Yes.
goes down quite deep underground. And then that keeps the animals out because there's no like big animals that are going to push it over or anything. And then they've got to do trapping and tracking and all that sort of stuff within to get it pest free. Inside the eco sanctuary, it's finally free, but there's still stoats, weasels, hedgehogs, rats, so on that they're trying to get rid of.
Wow. That cannot be easy. I can't
No.
imagine. Well, how do you get your bike in there when you
So
have this
there's
fence?
so there's gates at the bottom that are they're self-closing, very heavy. Be careful of your fingers. Gates at the bottom and at the top. There's a couple
Okay.
others around the eco sanctuary, different access points. So you go in this gate and then you can go up to the top, and the view from the top's pretty cool. You can see the sea, and in winter you can see snow-capped mountains off the other side.
Mm,
And then you go back out the gate, a different gate or the same gate. And yeah,
nice. Very, very nice. Well, I want to go. I want to see it. And what
yeah,
you're encouraging people to do is maybe go to some of the lesser known areas and find out what's there, explore.
yes, yeah. So I I'm on a couple NZ travel forums. It's amazing what people think they can do in 7 days.
Oh yeah.
Um, you can't really see any of New Zealand in that time. Yes, you can drive from the top to the bottom, and it's a nice drive, but you don't really get to experience it.
Right.
If you're coming to New Zealand, my best suggestion is take at least 10 days. But even in 10 days, you can only maybe do three quarters of one of the North or the South Island. The ideal time, which is pretty hard to get off to come to New Zealand, is for 3 weeks.
Mm,
But if you're doing one island, like 10 days is pretty good. You can travel, well, I'll say one of the best places to fly into is Queenstown, which is right in the mountains. You get the vistas as soon as you arrive. From there, I'd suggest you drive up the west coast and then either continue up to Nelson or cross back to Christchurch if you're short on time and fly out of Christchurch or whatnot. Flying, if you're here for a short time, you have to fly. You can't drive it. It's impossible, to be honest. Like, you'll
yeah.
look at it and it's, say, 5 hours driving at whatever. But as I said before, it's like slow corners. There's no straight roads. Most of the roads, even the main highway, are only traffic going one direction in the other direction, not another lane outside. So,
And it sounds like you could hit some major weather along the way.
yeah. So be flexible. Like, be flexible. Plan for 3 days longer than like you're looking, doing the research. Plan for 3 days longer than you're looking at. So say you're planning to come here for 7 days and do a drive for 7 days. Put it up to 10 and you'll enjoy it much more. You're only in
Mm.
New Zealand once, really. It's the opposite side of the world. So just make the most of it.
Well, it sounds delightful. Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing the country I can tell that you love.
Yeah, not a
And
problem.
it just sounds so beautiful. So much to do there, so fascinating. So
Yeah,
anyway, thank you for sharing that with the rest of us.
not a problem. Been good talking to you, and I hope the listeners enjoy the conversation and get a bit out of it about what New Zealand is.
Well, I learned a lot, so I appreciate it. And for everyone out there, until the next show, make sure that you do get out there and have some fun, and maybe that could be in New Zealand. That would be fantastic. All right. Take care.
Yes.